He is like, he doesn't really give an answer aside from the fact that he found out that her dad was corrupt and that he knew that she couldn't handle it. So the best thing he could do is just up and leave. And it's not too long before they're in the proximity of the kissing and stuff. And she's like, no, no, I'm not doing this. But even, like, I'm like, how have you even got to the point, yeah, where you're even in the proximity of kissing this man? Like, he upped and left you in the middle of it, took all of his belongings, every last sock, every piece of tie, every shoes, left gone, 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 gone by his business, right? You've now turned up and it looks like he might be scamming some old women out their money and he's got a whole picnic. A whole picnic. So in 11 years, you managed to find some kind of happiness because now he's got a whole daughter. And you nearly kissed him. I was like, nah, that is ridiculous. Like, that is, you would never do that. What going on, people, thems? So I reacted to this show on Netflix, basically, that was like trending number one. And what I want to get better at, like, on this channel is, because obviously I love my music, right? But if you come here, you'd probably be fooled in thinking that, like, it's only music I react to. Because I'm always reacting to music. But I obviously love my TV shows as well. What's that thing there?
They can't get in through there, can they?
My TV shows, my movies.
I'm in corporate insurance.
Oh, God.
I have children, plural, and my wife was cheating on me with David Lindholm, which I wasn't supposed to tell you about either, but I did. Nice to meet you.
What were you supposed to tell me?
I don't know. I was supposed to say that you are the perfect combination of sexy and cute, which is actually something that I used to say to my wife, but now it's become corrupted, and I have 18 layers of clothes on. I'm wearing a shirt and a tie and a sweater and a suede jacket that just seals in all the heat, seals in all the juices. It's all sweat under here. This is just sweat from here down. This sweater, this is called Slim Cut, but it's just like a scuba suit. And I'm looking at your breasts. What's that about?
You think I'm the perfect combination of sexy and cute?
Is that all she had?
That's what you picked up from what I just said?
I'm an anime, it's another big one.
Hab keine Angst.
Omega threat eliminated.
And I'll be doing a lot more this year. So I was like, right, start the year as you mean to go on. Let's, like, well, this is more of a, I guess it's a reaction. It's more of a review, really. Because most of my reactions are watch along. So you watch with me as I'm watching it, right? This is more of a review, I suppose. So this show, I think it's called Missing You. Let me just make sure I'm getting the right name. Missing You. Okay. So, Harlan Coban, right? So, because for the longest time, whenever I was seeing these like shows coming up, these ITV dramas or the ones that come up on Netflix, I was like, the same guy is in all of them. It's a bit like American Horror Story and how they have different actors doing different roles in that. Like, I haven't watched much of that, but the bits I have seen, I know they have recurrent actors and they do different roles. In this one, Richard Armitage, he plays like a key role as like one of the DC, I think. But the main role is played by Rosalind Eliza, who's Detective Inspector Kate. Sorry, not Kate. Kat Donovan. The story basically is that Kat, this officer who was with this guy called Josh, who is played by our good Ashley Walters, who most will know him from Top Boy, in Top Boy. They were really happy and stuff, but then he basically ghosts for like 11 years, right? And at the same time, like, as he's ghosted, because they were getting married and everything, like they were engaged, like he put a ring on it, and as all that's happening, her dad, who also happens to work in the police as well, who's played by Lenny Henry, so Clint Donovan, he gets murdered. The guy that they believe done it is a guy being played by Mark Warren, Monty LeBurn, who looks like a typical crack addict, right? So he's just like, he looks like he's killed her dad. but for the longest time doesn't find out the reason why. They've got no idea as to why he would have killed Clint. And he seems like a really good guy, this Clint guy, like a loving father, loving husband. So, you know, she's obviously bereft with guilt still, bereft with grief still, that she can't figure out as to why her dad was killed. Like, the guy, this Monty LeBurn, is basically on death's door, is about to die, and from cancer. So she like wiggles her way into the prison to see him, because the inspector guy, her boss, won't let her go and see him. She's like, look, you know, we know it was him already. Let's case closed, basically. So she gets in there to see him, and he basically admits to her that it wasn't him that did it. Well, at first he's all like, you know, no, you'll never know the reason why, and you pig, and da, da, da. But then the nurse, who's just like, I can't stand people like this, basically doses him up with morphine, so he starts chatty patty, and then he ends up telling her that, yeah, I actually didn't, I took the fall. So now she's got like an actual like dog with a bone. And whilst all this is happening, this Asian guy who called Rishi, he is like lost and looking all like forlorn, and no one really knows what's going on with him. He's like chained up and stuff, and we don't really know what's going on with him. Anyway, long story short is like you've got this one story with Kat Donovan trying to work out what happened with their dad and Josh. Next thing, you've got this story with this Rishi guy, and basically not knowing what happened with him, and this weird dog owner that loves to breed dogs and stuff. And then Kat gets a kind of pop. She's on this app because she's trying to get over Josh, basically. She's on this app and she gets matched with Josh's picture. So she's like, oh my God, I've not seen him for 11 years and now we've matched and stuff. So her head's flipping out, being like, why? And she goes on like a breadcrumb trail trying to find out, well, hang on a minute, like, why did Josh leave? Like, and he just suddenly turned up. So she sends him a message back being all like cutesy about some song that they was a big song for them. I can't remember who this was. John Waite, I think it was. Not Even Missing You or something like that. She sends that song to him. He then is just like, actually, I don't think it's a good idea that we speak. Sorry. And blocks her. So then she can't contact this person. Then her friends, like, when they find out that basically that Josh has been in touch, they all start coming out from the woodwork, basically being like, actually, we did speak to Josh. So you've got her trans friend Aqua, who is like, oh, basically, I did see Josh twice. I saw him 6 months ago. Sorry, I saw him when he left initially, and 6 months ago. So because she used to live with him as his housemate, and it's weird, man, because she looks guilty, like she's shooting all these guilty looks to Kat and stuff. So it's like, you obviously know something. So we find out that. So I thought she's gonna say that, oh, you know, me and Josh did a thing. I didn't realize they lived together. When it comes to the ending, I can now understand as to why she feels so bad. So she's like, yeah, okay, cool. You saw Josh once straight after he left, and he was an absolute mess. And then the second time was at this yoga class that I was teaching, and Kat was like, was I there? And she's like, yeah. So she's like, so you've seen my ex-boyfriend, and you didn't tell me you saw him. Now, this is where some of the implausibility starts, right? Because how are you going to be at the same yoga thing, right? And my girl, Aqua, managed to see him, and you didn't know nothing. You didn't know nothing about that. Okay. Then we find out, yeah, that her other friend who plays Stacy, who is like a private investigator or whatever, we find out that she also saw Josh that same day. So she saw Aqua looking at Josh, who then went about his business. She then went after him, right, and told him to go about his business. Now, this all happened when Kat, the detective, yeah, was right there doing her, you know, face down dog, and didn't know nothing about the fact that her ex-man was there, and two of her friends not only saw him, but one actually ran off to confront him. Didn't say nothing. Okay. So you've got that story that's unfolding there with the whole Josh, where is he? How do people know that like he's been around? And then this boy, his name is Bernard. I think his name is Bernard. He's looking for his mum, because his mum's gone missing and he's gone come to Kat. And what I found really strange about this, right, is that so he comes to her and is like, look, you're the only person that can help me. You know, I know that your dad's died as well. My dad died too. My mum's not around. I don't know where she is. She always calls me. And it just seems a bit like weird, like because you know too much about her, like okay, whatever. Then he winds up ransacking her house, right? Because she gets back to her yard and her whole house is a complete mess, right? And it turns out that it's Bernard, right? And when she chases him down, he's like, look, you know, I went to your place because I knew you were with this Josh guy, and this is the guy that my mum's with. So I needed to find out some information about him because I'm fearing the worst. And obviously she's like, Josh is with your mum. Like, what? That's weird. But never really gets upset about the fact that he's just ransacked the whole house. Like,
I want to fight you.
What?
You picked the wrong day to come to the park.
that's a bit weird, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, if anyone was in my house, I would be very upset. Never mind the fact that you just mash up my house looking for something. I'm going to let that slide. Okay. We find out a bit more about this dog owner, this dog breeder guy, because he looks a bit weird. So he's selling these dogs, right? And you've got this clip where basically this woman and this guy are coming to buy this dog. And he obviously sees these dogs as way above people, because the way they're talking about the dog is like, we're going to call him stuffing. And she's like, pardon. He obviously wasn't a big fan of them taking on the dog, giving like this whole lecture about how important it is, which is true, about looking after dogs and stuff. And then, because he must have been surveilling them or something, like he starts asking, so what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about Patrick? So then the wife's looking all like trembling and stuff, being like, and it turns out that the wife has been having it off with Patrick, the next door neighbor. So when he shows off the picture of her kissing up the man, obviously the husband is all like, what? Whilst the kids are in there, so he is, you know, they're holding the dog ready to go and take stuffing home. He just like, yep, I'll be taking Patrick back, thank you very much. You don't deserve this puppy. Him and Reynaldo, like, and these other farmer hands, yeah, on this big like farmhouse thing, like they are scamming people, yeah, with fake pictures and whatever else. And then when they meet the people, they're kidnapping them and blackmailing them to get money from them. And then they are disposing of them in this like massive furnace. I mean, even that, because the thing that I didn't understand is, why would you need to meet them, to kidnap them, to then blackmail them and then incinerate them? Like, would it not make more sense just to scam them and just move on to the next one, as opposed to like cause it seems like it would be so much more hassle to go through actually, because people are gonna go missing and people are gonna be like, well, where are they? It seems a bit far-fetched that you go to, I mean, listen, it's 2025 now, so people can do all sorts, you know what I mean? But I was a bit like, it seems really weird that you would have the whole kidnap thing and then bun up the bodies, and like, as opposed to just scamming them, like, and keeping clean that way. But anyway, that's what they were doing. We don't know yet that they've got Bernard's mum. Do you know what I mean? Like, all we know is that Josh is somehow involved and Bernard's looking for his mum. At the same time, Kat's still trying to dig away as to what was going on with her dad. So she thinks his kingpin guy, who's played by James Nesbitt, big up James Nesbitt, is the one that's responsible for the death of her dad. So that's why she's like, I'm insistent that we reopen this case. But her boss, played by Richard Armitage, Stagger, is like, nah. And the whole time I was like, is him? He had done something, and there was this this flashback to him. It looked like himself with all this blood and all this kind of stuff. So it looked like he had something to hide. Then it transpires that the dad, so Clint, the great cop and whatever, was actually on the take from Callaghan, because they were like, well, how did Callaghan get away with so much? He could only have done that unless he had some support from inside, so some corrupt police. Cat finds out that Stagger actually went to visit the same murderous one they thought killed Clint, went to go and visit him the day before and took Josh. So not only did he see Josh the day before he left, But he also took him to see this Monty whatever. When Kat finds this out, she's like, what the hell? So not only did you go and see him, but you saw him with Josh as well. Josh is a journalist. Josh is just wanted to find thought he could use this as a good story. And the reason I didn't tell you is because I just thought it was going to break you. So, you know, that you couldn't have handled that. And that's the reason why Josh left, because he just couldn't handle it. And he knew that you wouldn't be able to handle it either. She then gets put on administrative leave, being like, you're too stressed out and whatever, which immediately made me think he knows like that she's onto him, yeah. So he's trying to put as much distance between her and his case as possible. But obviously, once an investigator, always an investigator, you ain't gonna stop digging. So she continues to dig to try and find Josh. So she gets this new kid, this new officer guy, who's played by Charlie Hamblett. He plays Charlie, and he's like the computer guy. Like he does all the digging and stuff. He then goes and finds out lots of different things. You know, finds out that that Bernard's mom. He finds the CCTV to find that she gets into a car. That car and license plate has been duped. So they know that the car that is linked to isn't the same one that she was in. Stacy, her friend. She's doing like an image search for Josh but can't find him nowhere. Eventually finds there's a Facebook page that's been set up by some little kid. But then Stacey does find that she just finds some kind of loot, something where he slipped up basically. That's it. So Charlie's like, we can maybe try and find him using this AI generated thing. So we can put his articles, his journalistic articles into the internet, and this AI thing will pick up whether or not like there's been any similar writing patterns. So this AI has picked up this journalist, and that's who they then start searching for, because he's got like patrons, like subscribers that pay him. So they're like, right, well, where he gets paid to, Stacey then finds that place, and there's a PO box in there. Kat then ends up going to the PO box and seeing that there's a guy that comes in, because she manages to look in the logbook and see that at around about 3:30 every day, like this particular post box, which I think is 548, which is the one of this pseudonym journalist, they come to collect stuff, whatever. So she's like, right, I'm gonna wait till 3:30 and see who comes in. She sees who comes in, and it's none other than Michael from Desmond's, right? Who he then drives back to some house. She then follows him, gets there, asks him who he is. He ain't having none of it. She then gets kidnapped by Callaghan's men, right? Who are like, you know, you keep searching for me basically, but like I didn't have nothing to do with your dad. I didn't. So he's like, look, I can give you some answers, right, if we can do like a bit of a detente, right? So basically he then turns around and says, look, your dad was a complicated man. He was a good man. He was not a hindrance to me. If anything, he was an absolute asset. I would not have killed him. I did not kill him. It's like the only person that could have killed him and got away with it, yeah, is someone in the police. Yeah. And she's like, right, okay. So again, we're thinking, it must be my man. Do you know what I mean? It must be the boss. He didn't want it anywhere near the case. He's been acting all kinds of shifty, asking too many questions. And then we got the flashback as well. So we're like, it must be him. Sorry, I missed that part. So when she finds out that her dad was on the tape for Callaghan, she goes back home and she's like, Mum, did you know? And it's like a really and I thought this acting was really good, like between mum and daughter. And I thought Odette she played her role really, really well. And she was like, look, you don't know, you can't judge, like, you know, your dad loved you. So she did know. And then he's like, well, how much did Stagger tell you? He's her boss. And he's like, what do you mean? She's like, okay, I'm about to tell you everything. So basically, he had an affair, right? And she's just like, I can't believe that you never told me. And she's like, don't you dare judge me, and don't you dare judge him. Which I thought, you know, I don't know whether I could be as gracious, but obviously he's passed in it, so it's his memory and the things he did in the light, I suppose. And I guess the reason why he did the things in the dark is because he loved the ones in the light so much. But still, Kat's like, I can't believe you've been lying to me. Bearing in mind at this point, yeah, not only has her boss lied to her, he saw Josh the day before he decided to do one. So the boss has lied. He's also lied about the fact that he saw this Monty whatever, this prisoner as well. He's lied about that. She's now found out that like her friend Aqua has lied because she also saw Josh 6 months ago, didn't say nothing. Found out her other best friend Stacy has also lied because she also saw Josh and didn't say nothing. Now found out her mom has lied and that her dad has lied on top of it too. So not only that he was on the take and she knew, but also that he had an affair. So she's just had lies upon lies upon lies upon lies. Like there's just lies everywhere. So her mum's best friend gives her the name. It's like, look, I didn't want to give you this because I know what you're gonna be like, but there's gonna be no happy answers here. So gives her the name Parker, right? So she's like, is that the last name, the first name? She's like, that's all I've got, Parker. So okay, cool. When she meets Callaghan's like, I can track down Parker. That's no problem. He's like, so we do that and then we're cool, right? So then they drop her back off at the house that she was at. So where Michael from Desmond is at. Whilst all this is going on, yeah, you still got what's his name? I was it Brendan? It's not Brendan. What's his name? Bertrand. Brendan. Yeah, so Brendan is still trying to work out what happened with his mum. He speaks to his uncle Artie and he's like, I've looked into her accounts and stuff, yeah, and I can see that like she's drawn out like $250,000. Like, where is she? Like, he basically doesn't want to. The Artie doesn't want to answer him because like her affairs are private. When he then goes to investigate with Kat, the inspector, and Artie's like, "Oh, Brendan needs to leave the room." So because Brendan's an only child and stuff, like he makes out that like, oh, this is not the first time that he's gone a bit crazy because he wants basically his mum all to himself. I spoke to her yesterday. Like she's in the Cayman Islands with Josh because Josh just proposed. So she needs that money to go and buy a house out there. She's obviously going to tell Brendan when she gets back. Which to me, like, again, I just find that really weird that as a brother, yeah, unless you just hated your sister, why would you not be asking any questions about that? I'm like, well, you sure, sis? You just met him. Like, you're going to put up the money to go and buy the house in the Caymans. Like, that just all seems very fishy. I can't remember what the link was between them finding out about Rishi, but a fraud alert that was put on some transaction, which then alerted them. I can't remember how they found out about the alert, but the alert was put on by this financial house, something partners and something. It turns out to be some dude in his mum's basement, but he still has his clients because obviously he works quite discreetly, and he ends up telling them eventually that his clients he put a fraud thing in about is Rishi, but that guy don't exist no more because he's already been shoveled in the head and popped in the incinerator, as has one of the other henchmen he's been put in there too. So then we find out that the mum is there, she is chained up, right? They turn around and say, well, she's going to be of no use anymore because they can't get any more money out of her. So the weird dog guy is like, okay, just off her basically, get rid of her. She manages to escape in the, like, I mean, I'm glad she did escape, but in the lamest way possible. Like, she kind of falls over and she kind of, I don't know, secretly trained the dog to come and bring her this like branch thing which she licks the guy over the head with, and manages to run away into the forest. But I don't know, like it didn't seem like it did that much damage to like, if that was me, I'd have been like, you need not to get up. Do you know what I mean? Like, you were about to go and put me in the big chip, in that big incinerator chipper, yeah? So whatever needs to happen now, God forgive me, yeah, but you ain't getting up. So whether I need to juke this into your eyeball or something, yeah, but you're not getting up. But she just licked him over the head and kind of ran away. I was like, okay, cool. So she's hiding. They eventually like, oh, okay, cool. Well, we're going to try and get the son then. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we'll try and get the son. At which point she's like, okay, cool. Well, I need to get back into the house then and use the phone. So all of this is happening there whilst Kat has been dropped off again by Callaghan. And then she sees the same little girl that she saw that Charlie found, who made the Facebook profile for Josh. So she's like, okay, who are you? So she follows the little girl, which again seems a bit weird really because she's about 9. And she's like, can you tell me anything about Josh Buchanan or Reese, whatever the pseudonym was? And she's like, Granddad told me not to speak to you. And then she's like, what? And then turns around that Josh is there, and she's like, because the little girl's like, Daddy, why is this woman asking about you? And he's just like, hey Kate, I'm here. So at that point, I'm expecting some big fireworks, man, because you've been ghosting for 11 years. You're now embroidered in this massive thing with some woman who apparently you've scammed or might not be safe with you, and you've now got a daughter, and I've turned up at the beach with you, so like what go on? And then he is like, he doesn't really give an answer aside from the fact that he found out that her dad was corrupt and that he knew that she couldn't handle it. So the best thing he could do is just up and leave. And it's not too long before they're in the proximity of the kissing and stuff, and she's like, no, I'm not doing this. But even like, I'm like, how have you even got to the point, where you're even in the proximity of kissing this man? Like, he upped and left you in the middle of it, took all of his belongings, every last sock, every piece of tie, every shoes, left gone about his business, right? You've now turned up, and it looks like he might be scamming some old women out their money, and he's got a whole picnic. So in 11 years, you managed to find some kind of happiness because now he's got a whole daughter. And you nearly kissed him. I was like, nah, that is ridiculous. Like, that is, you would never do that. Anyway, she drives off, right? And as she drives off to go home, the weird puppy man, he finds out that Kat was the person who the picture of Josh had messaged. So they work out basically that like they just used Josh's picture. So she now knows that like people have used Josh's picture, because he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But they clock, as in the corrupt puppy people, they clock that Kat is a policewoman. So they're like, right, we need to go and find out what she knows. So they're staking out her house whilst Brendan, the son who's looking for his mum, comes to her house. So they put two and two together, and like, that's the mum of what do they call them? Asset number 6. So asset number 6, that's her son. Need to grab him. So they grab him. Just as they grab him, Kat turns up. So she sees like the fact that they've grabbed him in the van and stuff. They duff him up in the van. They drive off. So she then obviously runs the plates and stuff, and the plates again are duped. But they manage to trap them on some kind of cameras somewhere, and then they find that actually they turn off at this one place. So then it must only be this collection of farms and stuff. One of which being this creepy guy's farm place. So then they do a search to find out if there's been any kind of public reports of any kind of anything over the last however long. And they find out that the same wife who was cheating on her husband, looking to pick up Puppy Patrick or stuffing, had filed a police report to say, well, my man's obviously been surveilling me because and stalking me because obviously what he did. So they're like, right, we're going to this particular farm then. In the time that they've got back, obviously from picking up Brendan, they find that the mum has actually killed the guy. So when she went back to go and use the phone to go and call Brendan, like, he's come in while she's using the phone, right? There's been some rough and tumble. She had an axe. The axe has gone in his gut. The man's no more. He's gone. So when they come back, he's just all dead up on the floor because the dog's all covered in his... There's just so much that goes on in this thing. He's all covered... The dog's all covered up in the man's blood and stuff. So he's like, right, okay, we need to burn it all down. We need to burn it all down. And the assets with them, apparently, was the plan. So... they're on the way to this farmhouse now. And I was just like, but isn't this the dumbest thing in the world? Like, so your house just randomly caught on fire at the same time that the police might have been wanting to come to your house in connection with someone that's been kidnapped and this whole other ring. Like, your answer was to burn everything. Like, the property still belonged to someone. Do you know what I mean? And as much as I know, as I'm saying it, like, okay, they need evidence, but like, that in itself would be evidence, would it not? This big old inferno that came from nowhere all of a sudden. Anyway, so they get there, but as they get there, the mum is still trying to free all the other assets, whilst Reynaldo comes in, and they all jump in basically. So he gets his just desserts. So her colleague, I haven't even mentioned her. Her colleague, who's Nia, who's having a little ting with Charlie, that both of them decide they're going to go unaccompanied by any support, going into this massive thing, this massive like ring that you've just seen. He's been like dashed into a van and duffed up and whatever. The two of you with no support decide you're gonna go and run into this thing. And in fact, it's not even the two of them. Nia wants to come too, but like Kat's like, nah, I've got this. You just wait here, right? We never see Nia again, so we have got no idea what Nia did or what Nia didn't do. All we know is that the weird puppy man has now got a shotgun, and he's telling the mum, like they're still freeing people, if you don't come out here, I'm gonna blast your son to smithereens. So she eventually comes out with the axe, and he's like, put the axe down. At which point, Kat must have found the gun from Reynaldo. She's then heard him bit threatening her, so she's come to like save the day with the gun and whatever. He shoots after her. But not before he's obviously shot Brendan in the knee. And then the mum picks up the axe again, and he whirls the gun back to her. And then Kat comes again, and eventually, I mean, this whole thing just seems so long. Like, eventually she shoots him and takes him down, and basically saves the day. So once that's all wrapped up and stuff, like Brendan's on the way to the hospital, mum's all good. Sorry, before she sees Josh again, she follows through on the Parker situation. So she's been given the address. She gets through to see Parker. Now this is probably the most shocking part of all for me, right? Of the whole thing was this. Probably the best twist of it all. Parker was a big black man. So there's me thinking that like Lenny or Clint was cheating on Odette with some next woman, and maybe there might have been a kid. So we're gonna find out that actually Kat's got a sister or a brother or something. It turns out that no. Clint was dating a man, right? So, and he was in love with this man for 14 years. Had to call it off because he was like, no, it's too deep. Because it turned out that Callaghan found out about it and was blackmailing him, and that's the reason why he got him in his pocket. And then eventually he was like, enough's enough. I've got to stop seeing you. I'm not doing any more work for Callaghan. So the night before he died, and Parker never saw him again. And what was really interesting about that whole scenario, yeah, because that is. Listen, like, as liberal thinking as I am, yeah, if I found out that my dad, who, has been heterosexual the entirety of my life, like, and had all of us as brothers and sisters, and then found out that for the last 20 years, like, he was secretly with some man, I would have to take a seat. I'd have to take a big old seat, and I'd be sat down there for a little while, just been like, Ahofa. And the way that Parker was talking, he was very much like, I'm in love, we were in love. And I think what was really like awesome about that moment is whatever kind of disgust, anger, disappointment Kat felt, when Parker was talking about the relationship between himself and Clint, I think there was almost like a union of because he was like, I would give and forgive anything just to get a few more seconds with him. And she was like, me and you both. And they just have this moment of this like silent reflection of how much they loved him. And I think that's what was really good, in that like this guy who was celebrated as this huge hero and whatever was so flawed. Because initially when they said that he was on the take, I was like, it wasn't. It was him. It was him that was on the take. But actually, he wasn't. Well, I don't think he was, because I think Callaghan was saying that he wasn't just his dad, a dad that was on the take with Clint. But I think, because this is the thing that really got me about this character, about Stagger, because I was adamant it was him. I was adamant that he, is a corrupt cop and whatever. But it turns out that everything he did was actually just to protect Kat, because he was like, after your dad left, I said I would do everything in my power to look after you. So that was a moment. So then when Kat then just linked up with Josh, she's like, look, I've just spent however long with someone who waited so long to be with the right person. I'm not prepared to wait. So she kind of like accepts what her dad was about and stuff, and then pretty much falls back into a relationship with Josh. I mean, they're doing brunches, let's meet mums. Mum's hugging him up like this big prodigal son that's been lost for however long. Not the fact that, actually, you did my daughter dirty for 11 years and I ain't seen you for how long. But cool, come in. Do you want some chicken wings and some soup? Like, what? So no one's really holding him accountable for the 11 years. Then it cuts to him waking up next to her. And it turns out that she's been wearing the engagement ring, yeah, for, well, I guess the last 11 years, because she's just got the engagement ring around her neck as a necklace. Now, for me, unless, of course, she did put that somewhere and she just put it on now that she's back with him, that to me was grade A whack. How are you... Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that feelings aren't important, yeah, because, of course, feelings are important. Of course they are. And you can't just switch them off. But you think someone could walk out on me for 11 years after telling me they're going to marry me, yeah? Walk out and disappear, poof, and Casper, and I'm wearing anything that you gave me? I was like, nah, that's ridiculous that you still got that even, and that wasn't pawned somewhere or dashed in the bottom of some lake. But alright, fine. So he's like, I need to go and pick up Sadie's daughter. Now, all the while, right, Charlie, who is the secret computer guy, she's asked him to look for this secondary fingerprint, because the fingerprint wasn't traced anywhere. They couldn't find it nowhere. And basically they buried it. Like, they buried it, like, because they're like, well, you know, we've got this Monty guy now, right? So we'll just deal with him. It turns out that when Josh left, like, because he was so distraught with life and whatever else, like, he must have gotten some pub brawl, some brawl fight in Scotland, right? So Charlie's now saying to her, oh, we did get the fingerprints back. And lo and behold, the fingerprints were from a bar fight in Scotland. So she's now standing there looking at Josh, being just like... Because he can obviously hear the conversation about the second thumbprint or the second fingerprint, and she's like, "You," and he's like, "I didn't mean to kill your dad. I didn't." Right. So it turns out, yeah, right. So when Clint was seeing Parker, right, Aqua must have seen them together with the flowers and the rubbing up and the hand. So, like, Clint now has lost it, being like, oh my god, like, that's my friend, that's my daughter's friend. So he calls up Stagger, being like, I need an address for this Aqua person, right? And he's like, why do you need the address? He's like, just give me the address. Like, puts the phone down. He legs it over to Aqua's house, because when I've left the part actually, Aqua assaults Brendan. So apparently she assaults Brendan because she's so infuriated that he can be talking about Josh in this negative way, about how Josh is dangerous and whatever else. She's wanted to confront him about it. But then when she heard that he was talking on the phone to the police about how he's this and the other, she just lost it. And she tackled him to the ground where he hit his head, and she robbed his phone. Make that make sense. Like, how does that, like, what, like, any of that? Like, if you're going to chat out my friend's name, I don't think he's done it. Like, I'm not going to, like, hunt you down and tack you to the floor and teeth out your phone. Like, I'm never going to do that. And then I'm not going to sit down there with the same phone in my house and let the police arrest me. Like, that was just so weird. But when she was going through all of that, she's having all these flashbacks of the door, of her front door, like, coming open. Now, I thought, right, at that point, that maybe Stagger had, like, assaulted her at some point, because there's one point where, like, when Kat's gone to see her and Stagger is standing up at the top just staring at Aqua, and I'm like, well, you clearly know each other, so what's going on here? But it turns out that when Clint got to Aqua's house, he's banging down the door, right? Aqua eventually lets Clint in, and they're having a conversation, and he's like, look, you know, please don't tell Kat, and she's like, you know, I just don't know why you're living a lie. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't tell Kat and Odetta, I will. It's like, you know, you don't know anything. You don't know anything about me. And he basically opens up and he's like, you know, you don't know how I've been lying to everyone that I love. Do you know what I mean? Like, I cannot open up to them now. And he's like, you know, you need to be able to live your truth. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the people that love you will love you. Like, you know, then Kat calls Aqua, and then he just completely loses it. It completely loses the plot. He's like, why is my daughter calling you? Like, so then, like, he's losing it. So Aqua's trying to get away. So, but he's chasing after her. So so she elbows him in the face, and then, he pulls her back into, I'm guessing it must be the kitchen or something. Starts beating on her, like licking her down, thumping her in her face. So then Aqua pulls a knife out. I think he manages to, like, disarm her. They're rustling and tussling. Josh then comes in and just like, no, what you doing? Like, you know, come on. So he's trying to calm things down. The knife ends up stabbing the dad. And just as that happens, that's when Stagger walks through the door. And he's just like, and then the dad's like, cat can never know. No police. And then he dies, right? So they're just like, we need to call someone, got ambulance. Stagger's like, no, we've got his final wishes. This is what we're going to do. So, and then it flashes back then to Josh and to Kat. And he's like, look, I wanted to do something. We wanted to call someone, but, Stagger cleaned the crime scene so that it would save everybody from going to jail. It's like, because Monty was already up for was going down anyway, we were like, okay, well, what's one more murder to add to the list? So they niced up his, he got a nice little cell, nice little extra little breakfast, I think. I mean, a nice little job whilst he was in there, nice up his time for taking the fall, which he continued to take the fall for Callaghan, but actually it was Josh. And then she's like, so hang on a minute. So you didn't want to lie to me when you left before, but since we've reconnected, you've been lying again. And he's like, I know, I just wanted to be with you. I love you so much, and it's always been you, and I love you. And then they both sit down on the bed. And then she kind of like inches her hand. Sorry. She inches her hand next to his, and then she just strokes his hand with her little finger. Then it ends. So, I mean, for me personally, I mean, that's like the quickest rundown of it I can probably give you. For me, the story was ludicrous, right? It was absolutely ludicrous. So I actually gave it a 3. And a 3 out of 5. Because as far-fetched as it was, I still binged all 5 episodes in one sitting. Like, I needed to understand, so who is this little weird puppy man, yeah? And what is the connection between Josh and Brendan's mum? Like, because that's really random. And the fact that he just popped up on this app and then decided to like dip again. Like, what is that about? Like, I need to understand what happened there. And I really wanted to see the downfall of Stagger as well, because I was like, you definitely have done something here. And like I said, I wasn't expecting, the biggest twist for me was the fact that Clint was dating a man for 14 years. And the fact that the mum was seemingly like not okay with it, but she seemed like she'd made a peace with it. And then the fact that after admitting that Josh was the one that killed her dad, that she kind of took him back. But my comment was, yeah, as ludicrous as some of it might have been, like even when Brendan was like, oh, I've hacked the app. And that's how I found this Josh guy, and the fact that you were linked to him because you were dating him. Like, who just that's like someone saying they hacked Tinder. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine that that's just a really easy thing that some guy on the street can just do. But whatever, go off. So, and again, the fact that he burgled a house and nothing really came of that. The fact you've got this huge like organisation going on where you've got this. I don't know if anyone's ever seen Utopia, right? And you've got the two kind of hit people, right? One who's a bit like Lenny from Of Mice and Men, of Mice and Men, who just seems a little bit more slower than your average person, right? But he's a hitman. That's what Ronaldo reminded me of. Do you know what I mean? Just a little bit slow, like, but kill people willy nilly. You got this huge operation with people like that for the money, but then you're making the biggest amount of risks for this. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't buy it as believable that this guy could be the brain of all of this stuff. Just didn't buy that really. But anyway, so you take all of that to one side. I'm just like, how much therapy is this woman going to need? Because every single person in her life has lied to her. Everyone that she holds dear has lied to her. The fact that the man that you're gonna marry, yeah, that you were with for however many years, it's been 11 years since, and he was the one that was responsible for killing your dad. Right, and you're the one, and then now you're now crying, and you were crying to him at the time, and he's crying to you, knowing full well that he did it. And yeah, okay, fair enough, he scarpered, yeah, and went back his business, but he's now come back. Do you know what I mean? And you're just gonna just forgive it like that? Like, I couldn't get over that. I'm just like, that ending is absolutely ridiculous. Like, you can't tell me that you're just gonna forgive the man. Like, I get it. Like, your dad was not Angel, and the fact that he, like, I mean, even that, like. So you've lost it so much, yeah, that you've decided that you're gonna what, batter and kill your daughter's best friend in case that she might find out that like you decided to enter into some man on love. Like that doesn't make sense. So all the other things that you've done, all these heinous things that you've already done, yeah, they're also really, really terrible. But the thing that is like the thing that you're gonna murder someone for is them finding out that like actually you've been with a man for 14 years. Like that again doesn't. I'm just like, and the fact as well, yeah. Like I saw someone else put this, but it's a good point that you couldn't disarm, like the two of them as a big detective, like that's been in the force for however long. I was like, again, just that whole spiral into losing it. I was like, I just don't really know. I don't really like that. I don't like that as a plot point. I don't like it as a plot point. But for me, like I said, the biggest thing was her forgiving Josh after all of this time. Her even wanting to give the man any time because ultimately, yeah, like, okay, you've missed me. It's always been me. But, you know, you chose to leave without saying anything. Anything whatsoever. You've lived a life. You've born a whole daughter. So what with that? Like, 'cause I know the mum's passed away, but we're just gonna play happy families. Like, I don't know how you could ever trust anyone. Like, I can't. You, you couldn't trust no one. Your mom. They did her dirty, man. They did her dirty. So, story wise, yeah, it was interesting in the fact that you had all these different things going on. So, interesting. I'll give it that. It was interesting. Whether the story was good or not, I don't know. The jury's still very much out on that for me. But things like the ending definitely lead me more to the side of it not being good. But I think Kat as a lead was great. I really believed her as a detective inspector. But I just didn't rate how she was with Josh. And I didn't rate the fact, but this is writing more than the acting. I didn't rate how easily she just forgave people. Like, even Stacey, she was like, oh, you know, I didn't tell you because I didn't want, I'm not going to sit down there and let someone that you couldn't even say the name of come and re-enter your life. But even that, though, you should still have told me. You should still have told me. Because now I don't know where I stand with you, what you might know, what I don't know. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? And you've done that. So, yeah. But I have seen online that like some people have like really took umbrage with the casting, and that there were like people of colour as leads, and obviously because we had Mary Malone as a trans actor in there, and I'm just like, people, get a grip, like, you know what I mean? Like, your disdain for not wanting to see these kinds of people does not mean that their existence is null and void. And actually, everybody's got a right to act and be in film and to be in cinema, all that kind of stuff. So, you're not wanting to see certain people is not going to stop those people from being present. Like, you know, just because we've had things one way for the longest of times does not mean that that's the way it always has to be. Like, and without wanting to be, you know, to fly no flag of anything, like, just stop being so hateful. Do you know what I mean? Because I wonder, and listen, like, I've given a very honest critique there of what I think, where I think the story let itself down. But at no point did I think, oh my God, like, there's an agenda here of wokeism, of someone trying to force anything down my neck. Like, you know, you've got a guy who is a black guy with a black family who happens to become the chief constable, or I'm not sure of the police rankings, whatever. But you know, the head honcho, who turns out to be corrupt. He turns out to be corrupt and hiding a big secret. Like, you know, I saw someone being like, "Oh, here's another show about how white men are terrible and weak, and yet, you know, the saviors of the day are the black people." I'm like, well, you said the saviors of the day, like, actually, it was Charlie, the white guy, that was able to uncover the fingerprint. It was Kat and Brenda's mum that saved him, really, from being shot to death by the weird puppy dude. And actually, the guy who we all thought was the corrupt one, like the one with the blood flashback and stuff, turned out that actually he was doing the best that he could to protect his best friend's daughter. Do you know what I mean? Like, so who's really in the bad light here? Like, as the story goes. But even that to one side, right? Even that to one side, if someone's like, oh, you know, there's too many of the LGBT stuff in there because obviously Clint's character ended up having this 14-year relationship with this one guy. Like, I will tell you something, like, if I have to be the one to break it to you because you didn't know, yeah, let me be the one. Do you know how many people out there, yeah, are living a double life? You know how many people out there, like, are what you would call on the DL? Like, I don't know whether it's just like just sheer ignorance and just not wanting to believe that, but there are many, 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 many people out there today that are still doing a dual life, a night and day. Do you know what I mean? Many, many, many people. So this isn't even so far-fetched a story that could have been the case. Do you know what I mean? Like, so is it because you're having to see? I mean, bearing in mind you didn't even see nothing, right? Just the idea that a man could be with a man, is that what is driving people crazy? Or is it the fact that you had a trans person in a role? Like, because to me, her acting I thought was great. I mean, initially I did think it's a bit wooden, and you're clearly giving guilty as well. Like, so you know, to make it any more obvious that you know more than what you know, just like, you know, looking all guilty. Do you know what I mean? Like, but eventually, I thought the acting was really, really good. So I'm just like, well, what's the problem? What's the problem? People just need to just get their head at the bottom and just realize it's 2025. Yeah, whatever it is you don't like, it ain't going nowhere. It's not going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you know, critique the show for what the show itself is made up of, but to try and go on this whole bandwagon that like, oh, it's woke, it's just so wokeism. I just think people like to jump on a bandwagon, yeah. And suddenly it's like, right, we're gonna champion this anti-woke thing because we're fed up of seeing it. Well, I don't see there being any kind of traction for things stopping anytime soon, yeah. So, you know, I would much prefer to see a show that reflects the people that we've got in society, than it being like, you know, ring-fenced by people who can say who should or who shouldn't be on the screen. Like, 2025, man. Get with the program. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, aside from that though, I think it was a good show. Well, it was definitely interesting. I think the Forget Me Once or Forget Me Not or something. Was that the one with Michelle Keegan? Like, I think I liked that one more so. Because it really kept me going. Because I was like, how have you? Because that was the one where she kept seeing her husband, right? That one was really good, I thought. Again, probably a little bit far-fetched. But all of these are a little bit far-fetched, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Like, but I just love a good thriller. And I think, yeah, they probably could have done a few more things to make it a bit more believable here and there. But all in all, I mean, I saw a lot of people giving like 1 star and stuff. It's not 1 star worthy. Like, it's not 1 star worthy. Like I said, I think you could watch this, yeah, and, you know, if you had nothing to do on like a Saturday afternoon or whatever, like, it's the kind of thing you could. I mean, I've just told you the whole plot, but like, you know, had you not find out about what happened in it, I think there is a big enough twist there. I think at the very end to make you go, because I literally when Parker opened the door, I gasped. I genuinely gasped because I'm just like, what are you doing behind door number 3? Like, what? But aside from that, I think there's a lot of it that was just a bit like, well, oh. And yeah, man, I don't see why having people of colour, as they called it, people of colour, black people, brown people, I don't see why having that should deter you from watching any show like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure there's many, many, many of these shows that haven't got that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so what is the problem with having a show that still has a mixed cast, by the way, but that was just told from the story of a black family? I don't see what the problem is. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys thought of this if you did see it. What was your favourite bit? What did you find the most outlandish? Was there any of the performances you thought were really, really, really good? I thought Brendan was really good, actually. I thought when he was talking about like his dad passing and being there for his mum and that whole thing about swimming out to sea and stuff and the riptide and whatever, I thought that was really like, oh, I thought it was really good. I know some people also said about James Nesbitt's part being really, really small, but I kind of I rated that in a sense because he had this foreshadowing. Do you know what I mean? Every time his name was mentioned, and then here we are. Do you know what I mean? Like with that whole thing in the gallery, and yeah, I liked that. I did. I there were elements of it I thought were really, really fun. I tell you what did throw me off initially though. Is seeing Thingy Willis. That's it, Matt Willis. Matt Willis played Daryl. And I didn't even know he wasn't even an actor like that. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, seeing him do the Love is Blind stuff with Emma was interesting to see him in that position. But then seeing him then acting was like, okay. So that threw me off a little bit. And then also seeing Grace Keeling as Vanessa. That's right. So they used her picture. So again, because like, and this is no hate, obviously, but like, when you see actors like that, it's a bit like people when they're saying, oh, I saw Lenny Henry in this, and because he's a comedian, it was harder to see him in that kind of role. But, you know, Lenny Henry has done quite a lot of different things now. It's not just the comedic roles he's done. So that to me wasn't the biggest throw, like seeing him in a kind of more serious role. But seeing people who I don't really usually see as actors in this made me kind of think, oh, it's going to be some like bargain budget like show. But, you know, the parts that they played, they weren't too in depth with it. Like the Vanessa, I mean, it was just a face really more than anything else. And Matt played he played a good date. Like that's the role he had to play. Like he kind of played that really well. So yeah, man, I don't think it deserves all the hate that it's got, but it definitely wasn't the best. I will say that it wasn't the best, and not because it had like, you know, a variety of a cast. If anything, I think that was one of its biggest pluses, to be honest. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys thought of this. If you did enjoy this, then do drop me a like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. Thank you so much. And if you do want access to my reactions, reviews before they come to YouTube, then please do head over to my Patreon, which is a great way to help support the channel, and it's a great way to connect with me more as well. So it's a win-win for everybody. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next. Oh.